Right, can you hear me now? It seems like it muted me in the second bit. Can you hear me now? Alright, okay, yeah. So, yeah, I was just explaining everything, but then, of course, nobody's heard any of that. So, basically, the problem was, and this is another problem now of the new YouTube beta live streaming thing, it seems it messes with OBS in even more ways. The other thing as well as I really hate is how delayed the stream preview is, because obviously I fixed the audio about a minute ago, and then I had to wait, you know, for all of you to be able to actually catch up, to be able to hear. Right, I'll explain all the stuff again, so basically the problem is it still took me ages to set this stream up now, but I've started kind of figuring out what's going on now. Is with this new beta thing, what they do is they've got it set up so every time you do a new stream, you have to give a new CD key kind of thing to OBS, a stream key to OBS, which before you just saved one and then like the two things were linked, but now it's like you have to re-verify it every time, which is an absolute pain in the ass. This is the Yugoslav one came this morning. Let's see if I can find out what the actual name is of. M59/85 is the name of it. Right, anyway, I'm going to have to put my glasses back on now, because the problem is now they've got this new stream chat thing. It's too small to read without my glasses, which is annoying. See, the old one, it was big enough that I could read. Yeah, because this is a Yugoslavian one. I like how they've put the red star exactly where somebody would have to aim to blow your brains out. That's a good thing for snipers to aim for, isn't it? It's a steel helmet, so like most of the steel helmets, it would probably offer okay protection from pistol rounds at a distance, but no protection from rifle rounds. Okay protection from shrapnel, because obviously this is one that was designed to protect wearers from shrapnel. But it's based on some of the German Stahlhelm design, so I think visually it looks quite nice, and this one's in very good condition. No, China and Yugoslavia both had the red star on all their stuff. If I get this off, I'm going to see if I can get off without readjusting the straps. Hang on. I'll show you the inside. The liners are really nice on this. So there you go. So that's the liner. Yeah, surprisingly good liner in this helmet. And that's the shape of it. So obviously, if you painted one of these grey, it would be fairly good at imitating a German helmet, I reckon. Because it is fairly similar to some of the old Stahlhelms, but obviously it's green and it's got a red star on it because it's a communist one. So let's now see if I can get this under my chin. There we go. Yeah, I was surprised how good it was. It was only like 13 quid, as I said on eBay, so that was really surprising, the actual condition of it. But I just find military history interesting, and as I've said before, it's mostly just collecting whatever I can find cheaply rather than Alright, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. Right, so we'll have a chat in a minute. It's just really annoying me now on this new thing that how delayed the actual stream thing is, because it is like 40 seconds to a minute behind. So that's really irritating, because before it used to be like 10 seconds, but now the delay is much, much bigger. So I'm going to have to see when I do a stream Sunday, if I do on Sunday evening, if I can sort that out, because it really puts me off. Maybe some sort of AR, a boy named Gilroy. It's really hard to say. I mean, if it was just one thing, then would a really nice house be an option? Because I like a nice house, you know, but... Tell you what I'm going to do. I think, just because it's really irritating me, I'm going to have to put the webcam live picture somewhere, and then put that over. I should tell you what, I'm just going to pause the live video from the webcam. That way I'm not going to get distracted by it. Over 100, not sure exactly how many. Yeah, well, as I've said before, Gas Mask Boy, literally, if you're in any country whatsoever where the surplus is from that country, generally it is very cheap. That's cool. I've tried setting up Armor 2 of my Oculus Rift, but that I can never get that working right. Yeah, I don't know, Maxi, but it's just because YouTube has to keep playing with things, don't they? Like, it used to be a lot better. Again, I can put it on low latency and stuff, but I've got it on the middle latency setting, which generally isn't very bad. But before I used to, I think, have it on, like, the middle setting, and it used to be not as bad as this, so... Yeah, I've just paused the video, that way if I need to check what I'm doing, I'll just reopen the webcam display panel on OBS. But just for the chat, it means I'm not going to get distracted by reading a question out and then notice the video's still really far behind. So yeah, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. Just keep shouting that out every now and then, because it does seem to help the streams get shared, and I didn't announce this one just because I forgot, basically. If I do a stream Sunday, I won't announce that either, because basically I definitely won't be streaming tomorrow, because tomorrow's Saturday and I work Saturdays. So when I get home from work, you know, I want to have a shower as soon as I get in, have some food, and then I'll watch Weapon Collector's stream that he normally does Saturday evenings. But then Sunday, when I finish work, because Mike doesn't normally stream on a Sunday, that's when I could, you know, very potentially, at about 9 o'clock time, maybe do a stream for an hour and a half. But again, it's going to depend on how tired and everything I am, because there's been, you know, some Sundays when I'll come back from work and I'm so exhausted, all I want to do is, like, go to bed quite early. Yeah, the one I used is, what's it called? I'm trying to think of the name of its sophistry. It's, is it Vorpex? I think it's called Vorpex, and it's like you buy it once for 30 quid. And then it's a pretty damn good piece of software, and it's like a lot of games obviously not built for VR, although Vorpex can force them to work in VR, and sometimes quite well. Sometimes you get lots of weird glitches with it. Yeah, I've had quite a bit of food already today, Mike, just because I got up and wasn't that hungry, so I had a coffee. Then, I'm trying to think of the order I did things. I think I did a load of washing to begin with today, you know, like doing the washing in the washing machine and moving it to the tumble dryer. Then I went to the pharmacy because I was able to request some more medication last night and the pharmacy had it in. So that was good. So went to the pharmacy, they had all my medication in, went back here, brought that back. Planted some seeds that I wanted to plant to see if I can grow any different types of flowers, just to make the garden and everything look a bit nicer. Don't know if I'm going to have any luck with that, we'll see. And I had to put some rat poison out in a box, you know, one of those lock boxes where you have to open them up with a key and then put them in and lock them back up again. Because I think we've had rats in our house and like some of the neighbours' houses recently, so obviously you don't want them ripping up all the insulation and everything. Then yeah, I haven't been doing much else other than that, but obviously that's still quite a lot to cram in. But I ended up having a lot of food because when I got back from the pharmacy I was actually hungry. Because I find sometimes when I get up in the morning I'm not hungry, but if I've been then doing something, you know, like 30 minutes to an hour, I then get hungry again. I made a very strong coffee today, but that's how I like it. Thing is, I actually bought one of those decafeteurs or whatever they're called, or cafeteurs, you know, like French presses for my coffee. And I bought fresh coffee stuff, but it's got to the stage now where I know fresh coffee should be nicer, but if I just get instant coffee and I put a high enough quantity of instant coffee in a mug, it tastes the same to me. I know that's probably like sacrilege to a lot of people, but... Right, good you enjoy these as a time waster, gas mask boy. I quite enjoy doing them. The thing I do like with this new interface, as much as there's lots of problems with it, I do like though that it shows me how many people are currently watching, what the average view time is, how many likes I've had and all stuff like that, you know. Because stuff like that is quite useful. Yeah, that is a Yugo helmet, Steve. It's a Yugo, I think what people say was it an M5985 or something it was called. But it's one that a few streams ago somebody suggested. They had a load on UK eBay for £13 or something. It arrived this morning and I thought, well, that's perfect time to wear it for a stream. Yeah, well, we've often found out we've had rats, Mike, because we've had mouse traps set. The trap will get sprung and then the rats run off with a trap on them, because obviously a mouse trap won't actually kill rats. So what we do now is we buy rat traps for everything, because that way if a mouse sets it off it's going to kill a mouse just as efficiently, but if it sets off on a rat, you know, it will still kill a rat. But we end up using, you know, like the poison quite a lot, because as much as I know there's lots more risks of poison, as long as you're sensible, like we said, we put in lock boxes so other animals can't eat it, or children can't eat it, or something like that, and it's in our garden anyway where they shouldn't be. You know, it works quite well. That's cool, I have to look into VBS3. So, is that like the military version of armour? Like the one they actually use for, thing? That's very interesting. Yeah, I hadn't looked into it. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so can you officially have something like that, or is it just the... Because I mean, I know armour's like the one made for regular people, and then they have the military training versions. I think this helmet looks pretty good for a commie helmet, but then again it was used by the commie helmet that, not commie helmet, used by the communist nation that wasn't as bad as the others because it wasn't part of the Soviet bloc. I can at least respect Yugoslavia for that. Tito, you know, didn't murder that many people compared to Stalin and Mao and all the other bastards. Yeah, I'm sure, sophistry. Anyway, we're not going to chat about anything illegal, so if you can't legally get it. Yeah, I'll have a look at some point. You might have to remind me at another point on the Discord, sophistry, because I'm sure I'm going to forget when I get asked loads of things on the stream. Oh, that's good. So I'm assuming then, Steve, on newer Mark IV suits, they've actually done a better job of keeping the charcoal in them, because on the older Mark III and Mark IVs, you'd have all the charcoal get on your clothes as soon as you put them on. I don't know what captions you're on about, Spartan Kid. East German officer hats are very common. I mean, again, like, they're not as common as they used to be, like all DDR surplus, but in terms of, you know, like, how many you can get and stuff like that, if you want to pay for, like, £10 to £20, you can get one on eBay. I've got an East German hat somewhere. I'd be tempted to wear that on the stream. The only issue I think of wearing the East German hat is some people wouldn't know the difference between it and a Nazi hat, just because the East German uniforms and the Wehrmacht uniforms are really, really similar. It's just obviously the DDR ones have, like, different badges on them. But in terms of like colour and design, they look very similar. And I know I don't really want to associate all the Wehrmacht with the Nazis, but you know, it is a bit dodgy wearing that sort of stuff quite often. I'm going to probably do quite a long stream today if I can manage it. So I've been streaming for 18 minutes and a half so far. Although like the first 2 minutes of that there wasn't audio or people weren't on the stream. But what I'm going to do is hopefully go for maybe 2 hours. So maybe to 3 o'clock if I can manage it. But if my throat really starts going before then, I'll have to cut it shorter. But as long as we find enough to talk about, that should be alright. That's interesting, yeah, because my Mark IV must be pretty old like that. But yeah, mine didn't have a rubber layer in it. Maybe, Steve, it's like depends which company made it. Hi, Peach, anyway. Yeah, you would be right, Peach, because this is a Yugoslav one, so Serbia was in Yugoslavia, but yours might be after the breakup of Yugoslavia, where they put the own country's logos on them. Well, lots of people asked for an S10 and an XM28 style merch thing, I am. So Bart's going to do that at some stage, but we were also discussing funny ideas for like merch and t-shirts. And there's definitely going to be like an asbestos theme type thing. Yeah, and Steve, you have to bear in mind as well that, you know, like lots of the armies in World War II did very horrible things as well. So it wasn't just Germany doing it. But yeah, like I was saying, rightly or wrongly, there's a lot of stuff, you know, that gets said about it now, which is also why I don't want to sort of you know, glorize. I'm trying to think of the right words. Gloritize. Yugoslav M5985 as far from YS762 is its official name, but basically Yugoslav military helmet. Alright, history sold up. But interestingly enough, you can read my name in the side of the stream more if you bothered to look. It's on the disclaimer. No, I have no idea, Antonio. It could be that there's like talc on it or something. But yeah, what was I going to say? But yeah, like what was on about people demonising German soldiers and stuff like that. The one person I know who's like obviously who was around at the time of the war who doesn't demonise them is my granddad, who actually had to fight against them because he knew they were just, you know, regular poor bastards like him that were conscripted to fight in, you know, a war, and lots of good men died on every side. But sometimes when you talk to people like younger than his generation, you know, they'll have much harsher attitudes towards Germany. Don't get me wrong, like my granddad absolutely hates like the Nazis as a political party, and you know, things like the SS, but he had nothing against standard German soldiers because they were just being forced to fight. Yeah, history sold out. I've got a World War II Stahlhelm, but it's not got a liner on and it's pretty rusted. I've covered it in a video before. Yeah, exactly. That's what the sort of point I was just bringing up, Steve, was, you know, the Wehrmacht themselves, most of them were pretty alright guys. They were just normal people conscripted. I mean, of course, you'll get war crimes by any regular army, but as I said, like the Schutzstaffel and everything like that, it's more the political wing, isn't it, of most nations. It's like comparing a regular Red Army soldier to, like, the commissars and all the other, like, you know, communist idealists in the Red Army. We're getting a bit political now, aren't we? Loads of masks are still made after 2010 Gas Mask Boy, but you'd have to get things like FM12, CT12s, M50s, Canadian C4s, or the new mask Airboss is making, Swedish military masks still in production, Israeli masks still in production. Yeah, I do, Nicholas. Let me just tilt the camera around because I need to try and get it back into the same place, and I'm going to have to do this on the live thing because I don't want to wait a minute. I'll hold it on there a good few things so you can see it, but see up there? There is an East German tank helmet with an MM1 gas mask on it that sits up there, so it's not really in a good position to see during the streams normally, but it is there. Yeah, might as well move this way ever so slightly. Out back there again. Yeah. 49 euros for an M9A1 seems like a fairly good deal. Was it in the tin and everything? Because the more accessories with it, the better that means for the price. Hang on, let me try and catch up with the chat because I'm getting a bit behind now. KMLK Russian camouflage. Let me see which pattern that is. Oh no, I don't have that. That's not really camo as much as it's just like brown uniforms. Oh wait, is it the white and green one? No, I don't have that. I have Partisan Summer, which is SS Leto camo, but I don't have that one. Yeah, this is a Yugo helmet bandit, thinks. Alright, see you, Gas Mask Boy. What do you mean, a fan post video? I'm not selling anything or sending anything off, if that's what you mean. Yeah. You don't see that so much because I don't film videos in that corner anymore, because I used to always, just before I had the, you know, softbox light, because the light's better with the softbox light, I do that in the other room now, and I can do it, you know, in front of that red curtain. But yeah, how I used to do it, which definitely worked quite well, for, you know, the limited equipment I have, was just put the tripod in the middle of my bedroom, stand in front of that wall with all the posters on it, and then just talk in there. And that made it very quick to set up and put the tripod away, but now I've got, you know, I use a softbox light in a different room. Oh, and this will interest people, but it might take a while before you notice it in the video. You know the fish tank everybody complains about when they say it sounds like somebody's pissing or there's water running constantly in the background in the other room? What I've done to fix that is, I did some videos where I unplugged it and then I have to keep remembering to plug the filter in. But what I've done is I've messed about with the filter and I've changed the way it sprays water out. So it now sprays water out at a lower angle, and I've topped the water up higher in the fish tank. So rather than the water spraying out the top of the filter, hitting the top of the water and making a splashing noise, it's a lot quieter now because it's just kind of, you know, a bit of underwater water current. Yeah, I think, Beben, what you're on about depends. There's Volk gas mask, which is the German ones, as in people's gas mask, and then Folk, which is like the Swedish ones, and a couple of other nations would use the word Folk, I guess. Yeah, well, they definitely tested nerve agent, Steve, because there's a thing, I wonder if I can get you the Wikipedia up on it, where they did a test on the British soldiers telling him they had a cure for the common cold they wanted to test. Would he volunteer for it? Then they put nerve agent on his skin to test if a nerve agent antidote worked, and the antidote didn't work, and he died of nerve agent poisoning. And I think the family got compensation recently. Let me have a look. Porton nerve agent test. trials. There's the anthrax ones in Scotland. That's quite famous. Human trials. Is it this thing? Yeah, here you go. I think it's this one. Steve, let me put it in the chat. Right, let me just do this. There you go. Hopefully this is what you're on about. I don't know 7.62 because I can't actually shoot AKs or anything over here, so I personally can't comment on how well they feed and the recoil and everything. It depends. I find it's a weird creepy mask, but I think that's more if you just see pictures of little kids wearing bright coloured gas masks. You know, it just seems quite weird to me. Yeah, you've got the German ones, which is the VM37, the VM40, and I think the VM44. VM44 is really interesting. It's like one of those last-ditch masks, which was made really cheaply. It looks like a sack hood, like a scarecrow would wear. I'd love to get one, but I imagine they're very rare and expensive. And I imagine they're quite hard to stop from falling apart, just due to how cheaply they were made. And then there's things like the Swedish folk masks, aren't there? Like, what's that one there? Is it M39 folk mask or something it's called? I can't remember without looking. Oh, that's very good, Mike, because if you do, it means you can get more reviews up of those, can't you? And then you can sell the stuff for a bit of extra cash. That's interesting, Volksgasmasken. Yep, you are correct, however. This is the one that a few streams ago people said, could I get one? I looked on eBay, they were only £13. So I got one. But yeah, for a steel pot helmet, I really like this one. It's got a very good liner in it, so it's very comfortable. You can get the straps just right, because you've got, I'll go to the live preview and then I can show you. I'll just mess about with this just a second. So you've got these two kind of clasps on either side like that. So you can get these and then you can adjust these up or down to, you know, make it looser or tighter. So that's obviously looser. Then you could pull both bits down there to evenly adjust it on both sides so it's comfortable. Then you just flip these over. There we go. And then you've got it tight again. And that's a really nice design for a helmet straps, because it's nice that you've just got two straps you can evenly adjust on each side. It's like more like a gas mask straps. Where I'm so used to helmets having the weird systems where you can only tighten the strap on one side, so the helmet ends up doing that. This Yugoslav one's a really good liner. In World War I, Germany used chlorine, phosgene, tear gas and mustard gas. In World War II, obviously, they stockpiled lots of chemical weapons but never used them. However, in the death camps, obviously, Zyklon B was used, which obviously, I think that Zyklon B is actually a pesticide, isn't it? But they found it was just very cheap for mass production if you're killing people in a room, basically. But Imperial Japan did use chemical weapons in World War II. And there's lots of very horrible things that went on in Asia with the use of chemical weapons and biological weapons. If you've got a strong stomach, read up on Unit 731, which was basically like a Japanese death camp sort of human experimentation centre. Is Hacksaw Ridge a World War II one? If so, it's probably a US M1 helmet, but I've not actually seen Hacksaw Ridge. If you look up US M1 helmet, it's a very famous helmet that the US used from World War II up until like the 80s. Oh, it's Vietnam. It would still be the M1 helmet then, because yeah, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, all of the things the US did in between. Yeah, Unit 731 is horrible. But sadly, it's one of those things a lot of people don't know about. And the really fucked up thing was because the US knew about all the bad things that went on at Unit 731, but rather than executing a lot of the people involved with it for war crimes, they actually said, you know, if you work for us and give us your research, we'll let you live. So lots of the like Japanese war criminals from Unit 731 actually then got very highly paid, like military intelligence style jobs in the US afterwards. I know they did that with Operation Paperclip with the Nazis as well, but it's a similar thing. No silent voice. Everything I have is perfectly legal. Everything I own. You can own them under UK law, no problems whatsoever there. I wouldn't have anything if it was illegal, and I certainly wouldn't be dumb enough to show it in a video if I did. But no, everything I've got is perfectly legal. I totally comply with all the laws, even if I don't agree with all of them. Yeah, they did live vivisection, Steve. Like, one of the things they did was they basically would expose people to certain chemical agents or whatever, you know, while alive, completely unsedated. And then, like, after an hour, if they weren't dead, they'd cut them up while they were still alive to see, like, what it had done to their lungs and everything like that. I reckon they would be used, Antonio. They still are used by a lot of countries. Lots of countries still have stockpiles of chemical weapons. Chemical weapons are very easy to produce. They're technically weapons of mass destruction. You know, so lots of nations would still use chemical weapons if they had a chance. During the Cold War, there was a big theory that, for example, the Soviets or the Americans may use chemical or biological weapons on each other before escalating to nuclear weapons. So both nations had a very big stockpile, because the idea was that, like, you know, if one side nukes somebody, you have to nuke them in bigger numbers or whatever, and then that would be mutually assured destruction. But they kind of had this weird other mutually assured destruction things with chemical and biological weapons, where they said, well, if the Russians use mustard gas on this town, then we can drop nerve agent on one of their towns. But then we might, you know, stop it then, and we've technically won because we've used a better chemical weapon. That was the sort of logic they had. Yeah, but apparently, Steve, every side's used chemical weapons in Syria. You know, they're all scumbags if they've done it, but the thing is, the problem I have with the whole Syria thing is it seems often people say the government did it when it's probably, you know, likely every side's done it. But yeah, you know, it's not a good thing, and it's generally always innocent people, civilians, that suffer when chemical weapons are used, because they're the ones without any training or without any equipment to deal with it. You know. Yeah, exactly. I've had to pause the video, Wiz, because the delay between when I read a comment and how long it takes for you to then see that is ages. Well, in World War One, they couldn't have been gassed by the Nazis, Nicholas, because the Nazis weren't around in World War One, but I assume you just mean Germans. Oh, is that Battle of the Dead Men or whatever it was called? I do know about that one. I don't know what you're on about there, mate, with stale seaweed, cookies and things in a ship, but whatever. Naval history is quite interesting, I'm just not that well versed on it. Because most of those masks aren't valuable, or they're already damaged. The Vis division isn't hanging from its straps, it's supported by the weight of the Lee Enfield. And all the others, I couldn't care less about them, basically. And they're my masks, I've paid for them, I'll do what I want with them. All my proper valuable masks are stored, you know, very safely. But these ones, they're a nice decoration, you know. The Cold War is the war that didn't kick off, well, properly between the US and Russia, or the Soviet Union, and their allies during, you know, like the 50s to the 90s. So basically, it's where both sides had all the nuclear, you know, weapons pointed at each other. They fought proxy wars in different countries, but they didn't actually engage in a full military conflict with nuclear weapons, or, you know, conventional war between the two superpowers. So it's called the Cold War because it didn't go hot between the two countries. You know, an actual fighting war didn't break out between America and the Soviet Union, for example, although there were proxy wars fought in Africa and Asia, you know, where one side would hire people or support nations to fight other nations, so they were trying to flip different countries blue or red on the world map, you know, like geopolitics, but they didn't actually engage in face-to-face battle. As far as I'm aware, Iran and the Iraqis during the Iran-Iraq War both had NATO and Soviet equipment because both sides were supplying both sides. And yeah, chemical weapons were used in the Iran-Iraq War. No, I don't know about either of those, Max the Fox, but if you want to post about them, that sounds interesting. I'm not from London, Antonio. No, I'm not really Cockney, Antonio. If I was Cockney, I'd sound a bit more like I was from London, but I don't. That's almost sounding Aussie now. I work with a couple of people who are from London, who definitely have Cockney accents. My throat's going a bit dry, so I'm just going to take some antihistamines, because I can't actually work out if that's from talking or if it's my hay fever, so just a second. Don't forget, if you want the merch, it's in the Teespring link below, which I assume is below. And don't forget to like the stream, everybody, that helps more people see it. Well, history sold out. I really don't want to get into a kind of debate on streams like this where we don't want to bring up politics or we start talking about things like Holocaust denial. I think because of freedom of speech and everything, people personally can believe what they want and people shouldn't be arrested for believing what they want. But I think it's kind of ludicrous to assume that Nazi Germany did not commit a genocide during World War II. I can't speak Hungarian, I'm afraid, mate. I don't know any Hungarian. What was your... Did you have a previous comment, Satya? Because it says the worst nuclear tragedy in the history I ever known, but I can't see a previous comment unless you mean the Cold War, but I guess the world's worst nuclear incident would be Chernobyl. I might stop doing the premiere videos, Will. But basically what the premieres are is where because all my videos are scheduled for 5 PM Wednesday, Fridays and Sundays. But what the premieres let me do is it actually lets the people publicly see which videos are coming out when. But the problem is I don't think a lot of people get notified about the premieres properly, so I might stop doing that again. Because the idea was with the premieres that if I had a video coming out on a certain gas mask on a certain day, rather than people saying, are you doing a video on this gas mask, they could actually look and see what's coming, or keep saying, what's coming out this week. But a lot of people still ask that, because I don't think they know they can look up the premieres. So to be honest, I think when this current lot of premieres finishes, I won't bother setting up anymore, because it just gets a bit confusing if not everybody can see that system. I've not got a Soviet Russian helmet text on, but I have got the Hungarian, like, domestically built version of a Soviet helmet. So it's nearly identical, just the line is a bit different, or like the colour on the outside's a bit different. But I wouldn't bother buying a Soviet helmet unless I could get one really cheap, just because for me there's no point, you know, rebuying a helmet I've already got. Yeah, good morning, Mechanised and Weaponised. Okay, but that wouldn't have been a nuclear attack, though, Attack of the Dead Men. That was a chemical attack. Yeah, there's going to be more merch designs coming out, history sold out. On the last stream, I had Bart on here, who's my mate who does the drawings like these, because obviously I'm not talented enough to draw like that. So yeah, he was discussing with people what sort of merch ideas they'd like to see, just because it helps give him a better idea if he can read the chat, you know. I know next month they've got the Chernobyl TV series coming out. That's not long now, is it? Like 2 weeks to the first episode of that? I'll definitely be watching that. I don't even have, if you mean a monkey mask, the Shums, I don't think that's even stored in this room. I think I've got that in a wardrobe in the other room. Nicholas, I can show you what I've got. I've not got military NVGs, but what I have got is this, which is very good for the money, but it's quite primitive. It's called a Night Fox. Let me quickly go to the live webcam view so I can make sure everything's in frame. So it's called the Night Fox. What this is basically it's like a Gen 0 night vision. So you look through that end when it's turned on, and then you take the IR filter off. That's for daytime use. So you take the IR filter off. And then it has an IR thrower lamp underneath, and then you've got like your manual focus ring there. So it throws out IR light, and then you focus it to the distance you're looking at, and it's an infrared monocular. So you can see in pitch black if you've got the IR light, or there's other IR light. It does basic light amplification, but only very basic light amplification. But you can buy these new for like £100. Whereas if you were to buy a, you know, like military style night vision sort of setup, that would be a lot more expensive. Although FLIR cameras are still coming down in price. So next year, if I've got a load of spare money and I don't know what to spend it on, if I can get a decent FLIR camera for like £300, I may do that and do a load of videos of it. But we'll have to see. It depends what prices they're at next year, and do I have a load of spare cash. Because as I said, this year I want to buy a new PC. Next year I would love to go on holiday to the US, but that's going to depend on how much it would cost for a holiday and what I want to do there and how much spare money I can save up. Let me go back to the chat, sorry, because I probably missed a load of it. But don't forget to like the stream, everybody, if you're on and haven't liked it yet. Oh, you've reminded me, Z John Doe X, of that, like, copy pasta of, have you seen the Ivan ones about, like, what are you doing to glorious Russian rifles? Sergei Simonov would be spinning in his grave. I used to do judo ages ago, Will, but I haven't done it in ages. I think I got to a yellow belt, which is only like one off the starting belt, isn't it? With the white belt with the yellow tabs. I think, if I remember, and this is going back ages ago. I did come third in like a county tournament though, so that was alright. But at one point, but yeah, I just didn't really see the point in doing it for too long. And this was around the time as a primary school kid when I developed asthma and everything, and then, you know, it became harder for me to do sports. But in all honesty, I don't know how. Obviously, knowing martial arts is better than not knowing martial arts. But in all honesty, I don't know how well they'd actually protect you in some sort of scenarios, if that makes sense. You know, just realign my helmet. Just because I think in a lot of scenarios, you know, you'd be better to run away. Don't want to sound like a coward, but in the UK, where you might even get prosecuted after you use self-defense, I would personally say run from a lot of scenarios. I mean, there's some in the background, but I can't really get any out at the moment, mate, just because I've got the helmet on for this stream. No idea in Australia. You'd have to look up Australian laws and what the Australian sites are. Max, I would have no idea. There are 2 Soviet children's masks on the wall, one there, one there. The East German Stahlhelm, is that the M56? I really like the East German Stahlhelm. I know it's a lot of people don't like the look of it, but I really like the look of it. Well, the thing is, it doesn't matter if your ears are exposed on a gas mask, because if you're in a scenario where something like nerve agent or mustard gas is used, where your ears would actually be damaged, or, you know, the skin would come into contact with the gas which could kill you, you'd have to be wearing full NBC gear that covers every inch of your skin anyway. So the GP5M with the ear holes on it is just more like a NATO mask, where your ears are exposed anyway. Is it Saji David? I have no idea. Don't know if I'm going to pronounce your name wrong or not. I've heard that Slingshot Warrior, but there's been no actual laws or anything on it yet. It's like a lot of media sources have been making a big fuss about them, and politicians have gone, oh yes, we must do something about these assault crossbows, and then they've never brought it up again, so hopefully they've forgotten. I don't know what you mean by how would you tag. Do you mean, like, make a comment replying to somebody? You do the @ symbol, you know, like you're doing an email, and then you start typing their name in, and you can click it from a list of current users on the stream, and then it will put a yellow tag on to say that you're talking to them. It came this morning. I ordered it earlier this week on eBay, because somebody brought it up. I think it was when I was wearing my East German M56 helmet. Somebody said, have you got a Yugoslav helmet or something like that? And I said, no, but then I looked it up on eBay and I was like, oh, you can get them for only 13 quid. Okay, I'm going to get one. No, I'll tell you what, it was on the video I had the Hungarian helmet on, wasn't it? Because I said, like, I paid like 30 quid from a surplus store years ago for it, but I said, I bet they're cheaper on eBay. I looked up the Hungarian helmets for like 13 or 14 quid, then I spotted the Yugoslavian helmets for like 13 quid. I was like, I'm going to get a Yugo helmet. Right, that would be in the description, Wiz, but it's not, because on the new stream things it doesn't copy the descriptions of. But I'm medically unfit to serve, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can't see the FAQ now though, because how YouTube's changed how the live streams work, it doesn't copy that information across by default. I don't know what you mean by your nickname. Do you mean your username, Antonio? But I don't want to keep reading out people's names for no reason in the stream. Vindicare, my favourite rifle's the L1A1 SLR, like historically. I mean, I know there's lots of more accurate, better rifles now, but just like through the historical context of it, I love that rifle. And fowls in general. No, this isn't a Hungarian helmet. This is the Yugoslavian one. It's just, the reason I bought this was because some people were asking in another stream when I had a Hungarian helmet on which helmet that was. And then when I looked up that one to give people a link to buy the helmet I was wearing, I spotted this one for like the same price, so I ended up buying one of these as well. Not anymore, Will, considering what they've ended up doing, but I don't want to get political. So, but the point is I can't, so it doesn't matter, does it? No, Riley, you keep asking that, and he's not banned. He was chatting on here the other day. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled... Oh, yeah, I can't say that fast. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. That's cool, history sold out. As I said, there'll be more designs coming through, but whatever you want to get, it helps the channel out, because obviously I get a couple of pounds from each sale. So then I can always put that towards more helmets and stuff like that. And Bart gets a bit of money from each sale as well, because what I end up doing is, I've said to him, you know, any design he does at the end of the... Whenever I cash money out from Teespring, what I'll end up doing is I'll give him half, because he's the person who's drawn all the stuff. No, I've not watched Cobra Kai, Slingshot Warrior. That's alright, T55. As I said, these were cheap on eBay, and I actually like this helmet. It's comfortable, and it's in nice shape. Don't worry, cool boy, I'm still going to be streaming for about another hour. No, I wasn't a soldier. I don't know if you're saying to somebody else. Yeah, I like East Germany, not in the sense of East Germany politically, but I did like a lot of their military technology and like their uniforms. I think they look cool. Well, I assume a Brody helmet could be made easily, however, because what they actually did with the Brody helmet, which is why it was such a popular design, was the Brody helmet was literally designed so they could just, you know, get a piece of sheet metal as far as I'm aware, and they'd have a machine that would stamp it into the right shape. So it was just literally one stamped helmet, and then you'd fit the liner to it. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, Brody helmets are very easy to make. Yeah, I like the look of most of the helmets. The pickle helm looks cool. I don't know how practical it would be. That sounds like something that never happened, Max the Fox. Well, two things. Well, or several things. Sorry, mate, I'm not going to have any chance of pronouncing your name because it's got like Zebs in the middle of it. At the weekends, so what I'll be doing tomorrow and Sunday, I work as a kitchen porter in a restaurant that's in a local garden centre, so it means I don't have to go very far to work. And it's like long hours and good pay. And during the week I do YouTube videos and make a bit of money from this. No, I only have the SHMS, I don't have the PRVU. What do you mean by a chaotic situation? Do you mean a war or a riot or something like that? Because a riot helmet, if you're not being fired at with firearms, is much better than the military helmet for like neck and head and face protection. Military helmets are better for, you know, like shrapnel and maybe pistol rounds. Generally I know about quite a few of the nations during the Cold War, Scottish Socialist. I'm not going to necessarily know a lot about all the in-depth stuff, but I know about Tito with Yugoslavia and all stuff like that, and then the breakup of Yugoslavia, but not in great detail. Enough to know enough, but not enough to try and presume I know lots. Yeah, that's what I liked, Will, about these German uniforms, is they kind of look close enough to the Wehrmacht one, but not like they were just direct copies. Not on this one, as I've already said, because that's cool, Slingshot Warrior. Yeah, I hope you enjoy that. That's the kind of job I like, though, where you don't really have to be that social, do you, a job like that? Because you just get up early, you do a job. Because I used to do delivery stuff and stock assistant work, and I really like that. It's just a shame that, you know, where I had to go to work was quite a bad area in terms of, like, crime and, you know, safety kind of things, and, like, the buses were so unreliable. You know I've already done that, Steve. Hang on. See, there you go. There isn't a 308 in there. Yeah, we were chatting earlier in the stream about, you know, like what the Cold War was and nations fighting all the proxy wars and everything. I tell them not to wear the mask anymore, cool boy, or with that filter, but not, they probably wouldn't listen. You can't buy prop filters, as I've said, Random Dragon. The best thing you can do, buy those Chinese refillable filters, which are useless as filters, open them, dump the entire contents out, reseal them. There you go, you've got a prop filter. My Yugo M1 isn't in this room, but I can do a video. At some point I'll do a video, and I do a video on this helmet, showing the helmet with the Yugo M1 and the Yugo M2/Serbian M2 gas mask. I'll film that during the week, next week actually. But the problem is, at the moment, I'm over a month ahead with videos, so I need to slow down at the moment at the rate I'm making videos, because otherwise I'm actually getting too far away from videos. It means when I say to somebody I'll do a video on this, they're going to have to wait like 2 months to see the video now. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to next week like only limit myself to doing like 2 videos or something at the most, so I can do one on the helmet. And then there was one I wanted to do on something else of gas masks, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but I'll remember during the week. Yeah, if I see him on a YouTube video doing that, Mike, I do that. But sometimes you get people who then try and argue with you, going, you know, I'd always say it for their safety, but you sometimes get people that go like, no, you're wrong. This filter's perfectly safe because the seller told me so. Yeah, I like the Plague Doctor outfits, but as I've said before in other videos, they didn't really have any protection from the actual plague. I'm sure he'll make it Slingshot Warrior when he's got time, because he's also going to make me a Warhammer at some point, and I'm going to pay him for both things together. It's Mike's birthday on Monday, so we all have to remember to say happy birthday to Mike on Monday, and maybe get him a gift. I'm going to get him a gift, but I need to wait for payday first. No, I'm going to have to Google this now. Just give me a second. So what's it, a clothing company, American Eagle? I'm just going to search American Eagle gas mask. Because, oh, so it's a GP5 with like a bird design. I actually quite like the look of that. But yeah, I wouldn't pay $40 for it. But it's one of those things where somebody like Bart, who's actually competent at art stuff, I'd see if he'd buy an old GP5 and do like a really cool art piece on it. That might be worth doing. No, I don't sell anything, mate. I'm a collector and I make videos on my collection and like history. We don't know, Scottish Socialist, because there's lots of theories on like which versions of masks, why some masks were white or grey in the Soviet Union and why others were black, and every theory somebody's come up with always seems to never like ring true if you look into it enough. Like I've heard some were for officers and some were for regular and enlisted men, and that's not true. I've heard like one colour was for civilians and one was for the military. That's not true. I've heard, you know, like, again, it like specified rank, or like one colour was export and one was for domestic use, and again, that's not true because you can see both colours being used under exports. So I really don't know, actually. I don't think anybody knows. There's lots of theories, but I don't think anybody's come up with a good one yet. There's probably just they made both types of masks because they had enough rubber in different colours, so that's why there's both black and white Soviet gas masks. Right, the reason they got the plague, mate, was because they had a thing called the miasmic theory at the time, which was a completely wrong medical theory. They thought bad smells caused disease. So in the beaks of the plague doctors' masks, they put, what would you call it, like rose petals and things like that, which don't stop particulates. And obviously if they were bitten by fleas or whatever, they'd still get the plague. They didn't understand good hygiene, you know, it being the medieval period, or the Great Plague being a bit later. But the point was, as much as they had more levels of protection than a regular person from the plague, because they didn't understand how bacteria worked and, you know, like how flea bites spread the infection and everything, all the stuff they did was pointless. I've probably got over 100 now in terms of gas masks. No, I don't have any pickle helps. Right, see you, B-Ben. Yeah, exactly, but a spice won't protect you from the plague. Because like rose petals and spices, as much as they might smell nice, aren't going to stop bacteria. Ah, that's very cool. Slingshot Warrior. What is the oldest thing in your collection? Well, that's a good one. I think I've got some Brody helmets, which could be from the interwar period. I've got a couple of British gas masks from the interwar period. So that's like 1930s at least. I swear I probably have older stuff than that as well, but off the top of my head, I cannot think what they'd be. That was the original plague, Slingshot Warriors, in the Black Death, because that forced up the prices people had to pay peasants, because there was a lot less workers around. The plague everybody's referring to isn't the Black Death, they're referring to what would be the Great Plague, you know, one that came along like 200, 300 years later. The Scott GSR, because it's not a very good mask. And anybody uses it is potentially in danger. I don't know, it's a hard thing to say. I don't really think any mask should be erased, because they don't bother me. Somebody wouldn't die in 3 days from breathing through a coffee can filter. Well, not in a sense Tech Storm, because as I said it didn't work. But what I would say is, like, if they had the right idea on how it worked, which they didn't, it could potentially work as a gas mask. Because if you completely stuff the beak with a particle filter or a bit of charcoal, you could probably use it as a gas mask. Like I said, the problem is that they didn't do that. So, like, as I said, it's kind of the idea's part way there, but it's not. So it's hard to say. I haven't got any Adrian helmets, no, but I know which ones they are. Obsolete calibers, Steve, are ones where nobody produces the rounds anymore, as far as I'm aware. So it's things like pinfire firearms, or like very old weird calibers that, you know, aren't common. Like things like 9mm wouldn't become an obsolete caliber, but things like, you know, if you look up some of the old weird revolver cartridges that people came up with and then were used by like one gun and then never used again, it's those kind of things. You'd have to look up all the legalities, Steve, because as I said, I don't really want to give people legal advice, especially if it turns out I'm a bit wrong. This isn't a Soviet helmet, it's a Yugoslavian helmet. Team Foxhound. Yeah, I mean, they had the wax coats and everything, and that's a good idea. But supposedly they didn't always have proper boots on. Sometimes they wore sandals where obviously they could be bitten on the toes by fleas. You know, there was lots of things like that, and often they might take the wax stuff off, and then they'd leave it somewhere in their house, you know, covered in pus and blood and everything. So again, they don't understand how bacteria works. I can't fire any of these whiz because they're all deactivated. Yeah, that one went well, weapon collector, the other day, or do you mean the one with Bart yesterday? But both went well. When you say traditional weapons, what do you mean? Firearms, or do you mean things like maces, swords, what will? I'm on about the one in Britain we refer to as the Great Plague. The one that was before the Great Fire of London, that one. I don't know if the Arasaka cartridge is like that, but it's that kind of thing, Textom. It's like where nobody makes the cartridge anymore, and it's from like a firearm, let's say like an 1870s revolver, where like a company might have come up with an idea for a revolver, they made their own cartridge for it, and then when that, you know, cartridge and revolver went out of fashion, nobody makes it anymore. So in Britain, something like a Martini Henry is considered an antique firearm, and the cartridges for it are antique firearm cartridges, because they're not actually, you know, there's barely anybody that would still mass produce Martini Henry cartridges. Yeah, I've got quite a lot of chemical protection suits. Firearms, either, if I could, like saying, I could legally get anything and then legally carry it, either a SIG P226 or a Browning high power for a pistol. But if I could have any kind of thing on me, probably my falchion, because I could have that on my belt, and then that's like a nice classy sword that would be very effective. I don't know if the Swedish Mauser is the same as the K98. Right, see you if you're off, Riley. No, I've got two guns that are black powder guns originally. Actually, one of them isn't a black powder gun, but they're inert, as in they're like replicas that are made not to fire. Because in the UK, as far as I'm aware, you can own black powder guns without a license. However, lots of sellers won't sell a black powder gun to you if you don't have some sort of firearms license, because they do it to cover themselves. So, you know, it's like a thing that by law you're not required to have it, but they might enforce you to have it to actually make a sale to you. No, that's a very rare gun, as it is MP44s or Sturmgewehrs 44s, and I don't have one, or a replica or anything. Right, don't forget to like the stream, everybody, if you've come on and haven't liked the stream yet, because it does help it get shared. I don't have an MP40 either. In general, guns from Nazi Germany are very expensive to buy, deactivated or replicas of. Well, not the replicas, because you can't, as I've said before, get replicas easily in the UK because of our laws past a certain date. But in terms of deactivated German World War II guns, they're incredibly expensive, so I'd never bother buying them, because, you know, for the price of an MP40, I could probably buy 10, 5 to 10 submachine guns from another nation. So I'd never do it, because, you know, I'd rather have 5 different SMGs on my wall than one MP40, for example. No, my M2 and my M1 haven't melted. I just said I haven't got an MP40. Did you not bother listening to anything I said for the last minute? Right, see you, Mike, in a couple of minutes. That's cool. Hopefully it's a good museum to visit if you live nearby. Is it a free museum to visit, or is it one with a paid entry, or can you buy like an annual ticket? They never found a body, so I can only speculate. I assume he probably went down with a ship, considering how devoted he was to the Third Reich. SCP is all that weird... I don't even know how to describe it. We've chatted about SCP on here, but I've said I've got no interest in it. But I know what the SCPs are. They're like that wiki series on like weird monsters or alien artifacts, but as I said, I've got no interest in them, so I don't ever bother looking up which SCP is which. I know there's one that's a GP5 gas mask. Yeah, free museums are always good to go in. No, I've done these up too tight. Generally, museums that have free entry and want donations, I always make a bit of a donation, but if I go to them regularly, I'd not always donate every time. No, I don't have any muskets. The closest thing I have to a musket is the replica Griswold and Gunnison sort of Confederate revolver. That's, you know, like the Colt Navy or whatever it is. Colt 1851 Navy, is it? Because, but this is one where, like, you know, the barrel is plugged, it would never fire. You can't put rounds in it, but it's actually a muzzle loading revolver. Hang on, there we go. So, you know, you'd do that to load every chamber if it was a real one. And then obviously you could shoot it 6 times and you'd have to do a very slow reload again, but I don't actually have any muskets or anything like that. It depends what you mean, but in lots of games and films they either have masks without filters on, or in some games they've got masks with a plug still in the filter so you wouldn't be able to breathe. Pre-20th century, maybe some point in the Renaissance, because you'd have a fairly good quality of living, I guess, or maybe like some 1800s time if you weren't a really poor person. It's hard to say, because it depends how much, you know, money you'd have in a period. My favourite Soviet submachine gun would be the PPS-43, just because it was like a PPSH-41, which I've actually got a deactivated one of, but better. That's cool, Mike. No, I don't have any shotguns. No, not without you posting it, Wiz. I don't know what the T4 program is. No, I don't. It's actually not the PPSH-43, it's just the PPS-43. I've got a PPSH-41, but the PPS-43 I don't have. You can generally buy them for like £100 to £200. So at some point I may get a deactivated one, but again that'll be when I've got some spare money and I want to spend some spare money. Yeah, I do like the PPS-43. It's just, in general, it was like an even logistically cheaper to manufacture submachine gun. You know, very good quality control on it for such a mass-produced gun. No, the only shovel I've got is a cold steel, like reproduction, or whatever you want to call it, of the Spetsnaz shovel, whatever they call it, the Soviet shovel. And I used that today, actually, to get some soil from my garden for plant pot. Unless you buy another GP5 and take it apart, you'd have to buy an entire Soviet gas mask repair kit tech storm, which is probably not economically viable when you can get another Soviet mask so cheap. No, I've not seen that film, if that's a film, Slingshot Warrior. I've been airsofting before, but the problem is, Nicholas, there's not an airsoft site all that close to me, and they only run it on like one Sunday a month, so I'd have to travel quite a distance and I'd have to book a day off work to do it. So I don't airsoft for that reason, really. No, I don't have any Japanese guns. I've got one Japanese gas mask and that's it. No, I don't have a Ushanka. I've got quite a lot of other kind of Eastern Bloc sort of headwear, but not a Ushanka. Over 100, I'd imagine, Fico. Cheers, SpongeBob. Yeah, I do like this old Yugoslav one. It came today and it's in very good condition. Potentially, but I don't think that was necessarily the case, Steve. I think it was just because they thought having a bigger magazine meant, you know, more firepower. But the thing was, they found, Steve, with the PPSH-41s that the drum mags cost too much to produce and took too long to produce, which is why PPSH-41s started being issued with box mags far more commonly, because like the 30 or 32 round box magazine, whatever it was a lot more reliable than the drum mag, and you know, cheaper to make. But the problem with PPSHs, and this is definitely the case for my PPSH, and this is like what Forgotten Weapons and a few channels have said, is that PPSHs with the mag control and everything wasn't all that reliable. So with my deactivated PPSH, the mag is like such a tight fit that you have to, like with two hands, prise the magazine out once you've opened the mag release catch. And Forgotten Weapons was saying on some videos, like, you can find some mags for PPSHs that wobble horribly and others that are too tight. So that was one of the main things the PPS 43 fixed, essentially, was having, you know, a more consistent magazine well and like magazine consistency for all the guns, so you didn't have to essentially find a couple of mags that fit well with your gun and then just stick with them. Now I've got a Czechoslovakian, what's it, the VZ58, whatever it's called, the rifle, the bayonet for that rifle, but I don't have any actually Czechoslovakian guns. I'm not going to answer that, Antonio. No, I don't have a bar, as in the Browning automatic rifle. Early war, I'd say Nazi Germany. End of the war, I'd say Soviet Union. Actually, America. I might even say the US for that, actually, because the US had the Springfield, the M1 carbine, M1 round. Yeah, I'm going to say America, actually, Nicholas. The US. I don't know what that is, Roblox. So the answer would be no. No, I don't have a Luger. I've got 5 deactivated guns, and you can watch my deactivated gun collection. But I've got the L1A1 SLR, the Lee Enfield, a PPSH, an RPK M72 from Yugoslavia, and an M1 carbine. I don't have any other guns, so don't keep asking me, do I have random guns? The answer is no, unless you tricked onto the 5 guns I actually have. I've got an RPK M72, so that's essentially an AK platform rifle, yeah, but it's not an AK-47. It depends, SpongeBob. If you want to get a half face mask, you can get a 3M half face mask for not too much money. If you want a full face mask, it depends. Depends how much you want to spend. Yeah, I've seen Army of Darkness and the Evil Dead 1 and 2. I'm wearing a Yugoslavian helmet. I think polycarbonate or very thick plastic. They seem quite tough, and the idea was to toughen the actual lenses. But I don't actually know. Baghead. I'll just mention it again. Don't forget to like the stream, everybody, while we're waiting for more questions if you haven't liked it yet, because it does help more people find the videos. Alright, cool. See you in 5, Mike. Yeah, I do have that, but I never use it, just because I've got one of those light-up alarm clocks at the other end of the room. And I always need to have an alarm clock which I can't reach from my bed, because otherwise I will just literally, you know, without even waking up properly, go and switch the alarm off. I don't see what's wrong with conscription armies. Because in the end of the day, it's so you've got a functional military, and people get... I mean, I think people learn good life skills, essentially, if they do like a year of military service or whatever. You are late, Tyler, but I'm going to be on for probably another 20 minutes at least. I'm pretty sure I've seen the bayonet on the old trench gun, but without looking it up, I can't remember what it looks like. It's probably just, you know, it looks quite big, does it, compared to the shotgun. Alright, it was exactly that, but it's the same with the old Lee Enfields. World War I firearms, for some reason, they seem to put, like, short swords on as the bayonets. I'm normally size 2 for S10s. I'm, like, medium size on nearly all masks, Tony. As I've said before, Nicholas, the problem is because I'm chronically ill. There's no point me prepping for that sort of stuff because I die without my medication, so I just don't bother. I mean, the problem is, even with the alarm not next to my bed, I still find I can quite easily, if it's not a day I'm working, get out of bed without kind of waking up, switch the alarm off, and then fall back asleep. When I'm working on a day, I normally wake up before the alarm, because my body kind of, or my brain kind of knows I need to be up. Oh, the helmet, yeah, Tyler, correct. Over 100 million, supposedly, Calvin. Surplus stores, if you can find surplus stores that still exist, Random Dragon. Some are on Amazon, but there's not much choices other than eBay. Right, what I'm going to show you in a minute, because this is quite funny, we were having a laugh at this on Weapon Collector's stream, I'll put it on an OBS, was we were laughing at a really impractical thing. So somebody showed me the other day this really stupid East German armour, that was like East German heavy armour made for something. So what I want to show you now is some retro riot armour that makes no sense. So have a look at this. I'll put it here and enlarge it a bit so you can read it. But look at this craziness. Literally look at it. Wheeled shield below for Detroit cops protects men in blue against rioters and gunmen. Police fire through the portholes. So they've got this like giant wheeled shield where you can put like essentially submachine guns or whatever, or shoot your revolver through it. And then flatfoot version of 65-pound armoured plate protectors has spotlight on top, leggings, portholes, and made of bulletproof glass. So you can literally walk around with a giant piece of iron that only protects your front and that must completely weigh you down. I mean, look at this thing. But yeah, we were having a laugh the other day on his stream about like really poorly thought out military and police equipment, and that is definitely one of them. The thing on wheels is kind of practical. But yeah, the idea of putting this incredibly heavy kind of plate on somebody's front, but with almost no leg protection. Because I'm saying, if it's for riots, what happens if somebody throws a Molotov? Because your clothes are going to catch on fire and then you're stuck, aren't you? I think when people moan about modern body armour being too heavy, they've never seen this old crap. You know, let's get a load of pig iron or whatever it is and then just make a massive kind of Iron Maiden out of it. The Avon CT12, Calvin. I'd actually have to know first, Nicholas, what nations still have like conscription for that. But I'm assuming somewhere in Eastern Europe where they're still they still have conscription or enlisting. Yeah, someone runs behind you, or somebody throws a Molotov, or something like that, where your clothes catch on fire. Because there's nothing stopping your clothes, because they're just wearing regular clothes under it. So yeah, if somebody throws a Molotov, your trousers are still going to catch fire, aren't they, in your shirt? And I imagine you can't take that stuff off quickly to stop, drop and roll. Oh, chat's gone quiet all of a sudden again. If I had an AR, I don't really know enough about different AR brands because obviously you can't get them in the UK, so AR-15 made by Colt or somebody, I don't know. I really couldn't comment because I don't know, enough about the ARs because they're more like civilian guns for the US market. I'm not a civilian in the US market, so that's just simple answer. Not anything positive, Calvin, but as you can see, don't talk about politics or religion. I'm pretty sure talking about North Korea falls into that category. PM. It's 2:23. Yeah, 2:23 at the moment, so yeah, PM. So 2 in the afternoon. I'm sure some of them probably have better furniture or whatever, Tyler, and some of them might be made slightly better than others, but yeah, in the sense that I'm not in the US, so I can't buy an AR, I would really not bother looking too much into the brands and like the price differences. The worst gas mask in my collection, or the worst gas mask ever made? The worst ever made. You didn't ask me a question about the filter, so I can't answer it, Roblox. Your comment's been deleted by YouTube, I assume. Anyway, going back to the thing about the gas mask. The worst gas mask ever made, I don't have one in my collection, but I think it's called the Chinese M65. It's a cheek filter gas mask, where apparently you can't take the cheek filters out of the gas mask. They put one giant cheek filter in the mask in the factory, sent it out, and often by the time it reached the front lines, the filter would already be expired or close to expiry, and then you couldn't do anything with it. Or, as I've already said, Roblox, YouTube is deleting your comment, like it sometimes does, so don't take that out on me, thank you. I wish I had loud noises outside my window actually in the morning. It might help me get out of bed earlier. Of course, I've heard of the Fallout games, and I can see you've got an NCR Ranger or whatever it is. The NCR Riot Armor guy as your picture. Yeah, I put that picture up for a bit. Mike and was talking about it. Yeah, the tumor mask, exactly. Yeah, the thing is, though, the problem is with the YouTube chat, Roblox, is a lot of, or Roblox, however it's pronounced, a lot of the comments seem to just disappear, and I can't read them, other people can't see them, but they show up on your screen like you've said them. So what ends up happening is people say, like, you're ignoring my thing, you're ignoring my thing. I'm not ignoring it, it just doesn't show up for me. Which one's the M60? The M65 is the one I know about that I just mentioned, the Chinese one. Don't know, I keep moving that clasp because then I have to get the straps the right tightness again. There we go. Yeah, I've heard the Metro games. I've played Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light and the Redux versions of them, but I'm not a massive fan of the Metro series. I don't think they're bad games or anything. Yeah, the M65 is a bad mask, Sam, definitely. Because it's literally one of those masks that I can think of it, being, by the time you get this mask as a soldier, it's not going to work, and you don't have any spare filters for it, so it's like, what's the point? As well as, having one big cheek filter on one side of the mask that just weighs the mask down because it's made from like a soft rubber. There's no mountains around here, Slingshot Warrior. I used to have a bike when I was younger, but I just don't have much need for it because I've got a car. And there's not many like cycle paths near me and all stuff like that. So, you know, it's one of those things where if I bought a bike, I could take it on the roads and then potentially get hit by a car. Or I'd have to transport the bike on my car to go somewhere to cycle. And I like going for a walk. So, you know, there's some places where if I lived, I probably would consider a bike quite a lot, but not around here because there's just no need for it. But Russia had the best logistic tanks in terms of tanks for mass production and not using loads of fuel, but I wouldn't say one-on-one they were the best tanks. Oh, it was a gift from Stu. Right, I did see earlier you were saying you're going off to open it and you thought it might be from him, but I didn't see what you said it was, so yeah, I'll watch your video later, Mike. Yeah, I like planes, but obviously I know less about planes, so there are some planes I think are really cool. Like, you know, some of the famous ones from history, but I'm not somebody you could have a very in-depth conversation with about planes. Yeah, Armalite. I knew it was Armalite 15. It doesn't mean Assault Rifle 15 or whatever, but I never said that did. So what are you saying? When other people make AR-15s, they can't call them AR-15s? Is that what you're saying, SpongeBob? They have to call it whatever and then their own number. Yeah, I've already said what that is quite a few times on this one stream as well as all the streams, Tony, so I'm not going to repeat it again. I know you can ride off-road with a mountain bike Slingshot, but you'd still need flat ground to ride it on. Well, I know it doesn't have to be flat, but the point is around me, it's all private property. Or hedgerows, so you're not going to be able to ride a mountain bike there, are you? As I said, if I lived somewhere where there was lots of good kind of like hiking paths where I could take a mountain bike, then that might be a different story. But where I am, there's only a couple of places you could take a mountain bike other than riding it on the road, so there's no point. Because I'll just take my car if I wanted to go somewhere that's on the road. My favourite rifle is the L1A1 SLR. Roblox, my favourite like thing that isn't a rifle is probably my Falchion. Alright, you haven't updated the chat to be live, Mike. Yeah, make sure you read the live chat. Hello, Rich. I'll be on for another 10-20 minutes or so. Personally, I'd say German Shepherds, but the dogs I spend the most time with is my friend has 4 Cocker Spaniels. And I really like those. They're like really friendly, good dogs, and I like walking them, but in terms of like, just if I could have any dog, I'd probably have a German Shepherd. But I like, you know, Rottweilers, I like Huskies, I like most of the more bigger dogs, you know, the Border Collies, things like that. Alright, okay, I'm still a bit lost with all of that. SpongeBob. Right, it's not an M1A1 SLR, it's an L1A1 SLR. But it's a FAL with design differences and improvements. It's semi-automatic only, unlike Select Fire, like the original FALs. The flash hider on it's different, but you can't really see the flash hider where the camera is. It's got like a forward assist on it, where regular FALs didn't have a forward assist, and I think there's a couple of other minor changes. Like the trigger guard expands on a system if you want to use it with mittens, which a regular FAL can't do. It's like a FAL with a few small design improvements, basically, but yeah, it's a FAL. Yeah, where we are, Slingshot, the rules are you have to take a cycle on the side of a road if you are riding on the road. You can't ride it on paths. I mean, a lot of cyclists do, but it's a stupid thing to do, because the amount of times I've been walking as a pedestrian and been knocked over by cyclists, or, you know, had very close escapes. I'm not saying all cyclists are bad like that, because I know people who cycle a lot and who are respectable cyclists. What I'm saying is you have a lot of people that just don't follow the bike rules. So yeah, cyclists, what they're meant to do is, unless there's an actual designated cycle path, then of course use that, they're meant to ride on the left side of the road, and And then, you know, you're meant to put your arms out to indicate where you're going and everything, and they're meant to stop at red lights. But around me, there's so many cyclists that just go through red lights. And when you hear, often, I know it sounds a bit horrible to say, but often in my area, when you hear a cyclist has been killed, your first thought is, oh, they should have been following the rules of the road. And I mean, some of them tragically do die because of careless drivers, but a lot of the ones around me, it's because they constantly run red lights. You know, they think it's a good idea to try and get inside of a big truck or a lorry on a roundabout, you know, then get squished. It's just common sense they don't seem to have. I'm sorry to hear that, Steve. I hope he was a good friend while he was there. If you see the Forgotten Weapons videos, SpongeBob, on the Israeli FAL, some of the things they've done on the Israeli FAL are similar to the SLR, like some of the design improvements. Okay, I suppose that sort of makes sense, Tyler. But as I was saying, because I'm not in the US and I can't own any ARs, I haven't really bothered looking into all the civilian ARs. I prefer military rifles. The XM27 is the see-through silicon M17. The one that basically the company was just stupid with, because they said the M17 is too heavy, so then they came back and said, look, here's an M17 made out of clear silicon, it's a bit lighter now, can we win the contracts? And that's why the XM28 won for the lightweight gas mask, but then was never adopted. Alright, cool. So you're back properly now, are you, Mac? I will be on for another 12 minutes, I reckon. I reckon I'll do a 1 hour 45 minute stream, and I reckon that will do it for today. If those of you didn't hear, I won't be on streaming tomorrow, because I work Saturdays and Sundays, but I may be on Sunday evening, I don't know yet, because it depends. On Sunday, it depends how tired I feel from work, and if anything else happens in the evening. What are you on about? Acid tear. Weapon Collector normally streams Friday and Saturday, Jose. I don't really think so, Nicholas, because there were lots and lots of automatic weapons in World War II as it was. So I really don't think it would have made much difference. You know, however, was it like 100 million people died in World War II in total? It was an insane number like that, wasn't it? I don't think that number would have changed much because the Soviets would have had an automatic weapon for every soldier. They might have fought more effectively earlier in the war and ended it earlier, you never know. It's a Yugoslavian communist star, it's not a Soviet or Chinese one. Cheers, SpongeBob. Well, the likes aren't that important. It's more just getting, you know, more views and everything, and more subscribers, which have been going up a lot. But it does help, because if people like the streams, it seems then YouTube notifies more people that I'm streaming, so more people watch them. And then, like, the more time people watch the stream, I think it gets the average view time up for your channel. And I have a feeling the average watch time or view time is what YouTube then uses to promote your videos further. It's a bit of a weird system. What joke's that, SpongeBob? Are you talking to somebody else? I've got an XM28, so I definitely have seen an XM28's filter. I've got quite a few videos on my XM28. Oh, it sounds like it's raining. Yeah, it's raining. Well, I hope all the rain goes today before tomorrow. Let me have a quick look at my phone and see what the weather forecast is meant to be for tomorrow. Because generally where I work, if it's a rainy day, it's busier at work than if it's a sunny day, so I always like it to be a sunny day at work. And because if it's a sunny day at work, it means if you have to go outside and put, you know, bins away in like the waste area, you know, you're dry rather than wet. Right, tomorrow, Saturday. Rain in the morning, then cloudy all day with very light chances of rain. So tomorrow doesn't look too bad. Why is there a weather? Oh, yellow warning of wind. What's the wind going to be like? Oh, 25 miles per hour during some of the day. That might be interesting. We'll have to see. I've been to lots of European countries before, Nicholas. I get asked that every stream, so I'm not going to go through all the list of European countries I've been to on this stream. But I've been to quite a lot of Western and Central Europe. And again, I'm not going to get into politics because I'm not going to say I support this side in World War II. Generally, I would say, though, I'd support the Allies, as in America and Britain, because we're probably the least evil of all the sides. But that's not saying much, considering some of the stuff America and Britain did during World War II. We'll find out in a later video I'm going to film, Jose. I don't know, it should do, but I don't know yet. Alright, see you, random dragon. Right, don't forget to give the stream a like, everybody, if you haven't liked it yet, because I'll be on another 7 or 8 minutes, so I want to try and get some more likes in before I finish, just because, as I said, it seems to help YouTube share the stream. Sorry, mate, I have no idea what you're saying. I guess AK-47 is in there somewhere. Something about MC1. Is that the MC1 gas masks? But otherwise I can't read anything. Sorry. Or are you talking to somebody else? I don't know. Yep, rain's getting pretty heavy now. As I said, I hope all the rain kind of blows over today, because I'd rather we have lots of sunny days in a row now, just because it's nicer if I want to go out for a walk, and it's nicer when I'm at work. But, you know, I'd rather the rain goes on a day when I'm not doing much than when I'm at work. Any chance, Mike, where people are not talking in English, you can have a quick Google Translate for me to see what they're saying, and if they're being rude to anybody, can you just get rid of them, please? Because I don't really have time to do that when I'm doing a stream, but like I said, that's the problem when people start chatting in other languages during a stream. I have no idea what they're on about. Maybe Sunday, Sam, but I can't say for certain. Definitely Monday. This is a Yugoslav, is it M5985 helmet or something it's called? It's an old Yugoslav helmet anyway. I don't know what you mean by ASG, but is he saying, can you use an MC1 gas mask with an AK? Not very well, because the MC1, like a GP5, has the lenses that look slightly sideways. So without a scope you could use an AK with it, but not very well. With a scope, no, you wouldn't be able to look down it. Okay, cool, Mike. So I don't want to sound like I'm being like nasty to people who aren't speaking in English. It's just because I have no idea what people are saying, and I don't really have time to go on Google Translate for each comment. As far as I know, people might be saying about illegal stuff or whatever. But again, definitely be on Monday. Monday, though, I have to do in the afternoon, because rehearsals are back on from this Monday, which means that from 8 to 10 I'm doing a rehearsal. So, I won't want to do a stream after 10 PM when I get home, but I might do it from like 6 to 7 or something like that. Still doesn't mean much to me, Mike, but I'm sure it's a fine comment. See you, Steve. Alright, cool. Whereabouts in Poland are you from then, Kubix? I've been to Warsaw, Krakow, and a couple of other places in Poland, but they were the two main ones. Oh, and Gdansk. I've been to a couple of other like minor towns or cities as well, but they were the three main places I went to when I was in Poland. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm being mean about it, Mike. It's just the problem is I can't check what they're saying, so I have no idea. You know. Oh, rain's getting fairly heavy now. I'm glad I did all my outside jobs today this morning rather than leaving them till after the stream. Can you hear that on the roof? Yeah, it is quite heavy. I'll tell you what can be making my throat a bit dry. I've had my wax warmer thing on for quite a while, and that after a while makes a lot of smell. It's like one of those things you should probably flick on for an hour and then turn off. If you don't mean, it's like rather than having a scented candle or something like that, it's like a heater that you put wax in, scented wax. It melts it to make the room smell nice, but if you have that on for too long, it becomes a bit overpowering. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit distracted by all the rain now. It's quite heavy. There wasn't a cloud in the sky earlier, seriously. But yeah. Yeah, because I came home from when I was at the pharmacy. My neighbour was in his garden watering his plants, and I said to him, "Oh, it's nice weather today, isn't it?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, but it's not going to be tomorrow." And I said, "Well, we'll see. You know, I haven't looked at the weather forecast." But I said, "Oh, looks nice," because, you know, it was nice, warm and sunny. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and now it's absolutely pissing it down with rain. But we were predicted big storms here yesterday, and there weren't any. You know, it was meant to be yesterday. It was meant to be thunder and lightning all day and loads of rain. Then when I was volunteering, we had rain for maybe like an hour off and on, and then there was 10 minutes of really heavy rain, and that was it. And I asked one of my friends, you know, I asked Bart yesterday when I got back from the Blue Cross and I picked him up. I said, "Was there any rain?" And he goes, "Oh, there was a bit of rain, not loads." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So the weather forecast got that totally wrong about, you know, it being one of those days where you get like 20 hours of rain and like thunder and lightning. It's probably why it's always cold and cloudy and rainy in the UK, Zergo, as well. See you, Zergo, if you're off, because obviously the UK, being like Michigan, we're surrounded by water. So there's lots of water that can come up into the sky to come back down. No way I could afford to at the moment, SpongeBob. I live with my parents because they've got quite a big house. But where we live in the UK is one of the most expensive places you can live in the UK. Where if you were to buy a one-bedroom house or a two-bedroom house, you know, not even particularly big houses, they would often be £500,000 plus, which I guess in dollars is like $700,000 plus. So most people where I am either get into the trap of renting and then never affording to buy a house, or with the support of all their family, if they've got a high-paying job, they can then buy a house or a mortgage. So if I wanted to buy a house, I'd have to save up for years and then buy one in a completely different part of the UK. But yeah, at the moment, no, and I haven't got any plans to buy my own house because I just simply can't afford to. I'd love one if I could, I just can't. But yeah, let me see if it Google tells me. Oh, I wasn't far off. Semi-detached properties were on average £486,000. Terrace properties on average £485,000, and the single-bedroom flat was £333,000. But the overall average price was £509,000. £509,000. But some areas of my area with like the nicer houses are over £1 million per house. So that gives you some idea of why I can't afford a house. So yeah, there's some places in the UK where houses are pretty affordable, but not where I am. Yeah, one bedroom flats 165,000 in one area. But yeah, next to London, where I live, is one of the most expensive areas in the country. And it's one of the places where not many people who live here actually, I think they said there's no jobs you can do here that actually would pay to buy a house here. You know, it's one of those places where lots and lots of people move away from, or lots of very rich people move here. The flats average to buy a flat between 100 and 300,000 in my area, apparently. And that's for like one room. Yeah, exactly. I've got my own bedroom here. We've got... The thing is, our house is one where it was built back when you know, they didn't cost as much. So it meant that for a sensible amount of money, you could actually buy a house with quite a few bedrooms. And now it's gotten to the stage where nobody can afford a house. So, yeah. My parents don't mind me... You know, I have to pay rent to my parents, but... The thing is, I help out around the house. They don't charge me too much for rent, and they like having me about because they're getting on a bit. There's lots of things they can't manage to do, which I can help them with. You know, both of them are completely computer illiterate, but my dad's retired now, but my mum needs a computer for her job. So I have to, you know, constantly help her with her sort of work on a computer, which she just can't understand how to do. So, you know, there's lots of stuff like that. Again, Mike, how could any of us actually afford that? I know you can get a mortgage and then you can be paying it off over like the course of 40 years, but still, do you know what I mean? It's like, while I've got a roof over my head, you know, and I'm not charged much for rent, I will very happily take this. Because I've had lots of friends that were super eager to move out, and then I think most of them were hit with reality of it's just completely impractical. Anyway, I will finish the stream now. Don't forget to give it a like, everybody, if you haven't liked the stream so far. It says we've got 73 likes at the moment, which is pretty good. But the more likes I get, the more it seems to help it get shared. It says I've got 401 playbacks. And the average watch time has been 7 minutes and 45 seconds. That's pretty good. That's well above my average. Do I actually know what my average is per video? Let me have a quick look and see if something tells me. Just a second. My average watch time is 9 minutes and 6 seconds. Okay, so that isn't quite as high as my average watch time, but it's still pretty good, 7 minutes and 45 seconds. It's certainly higher than my average watch time on normal videos. Yeah, you're making me very jealous, John. Because how much would a one-bedroom house there cost? Under $100,000? Yeah, that's the thing. My dad bought this house, I think, in the early 60s, and he bought it for a few £1,000s, which is obviously worth a lot more than it is today. But the point was that, you know, with a mortgage, over the course of a few years, he could pay off the house. But yeah, see everybody, I'm going to be off now, but thank you for watching. As said, no stream tomorrow. We'll be on Weapon Collector's stream tonight and tomorrow. But as I'm working tomorrow and Sunday, it may be that I get a chance after work to do a stream Sunday. I can't tell you now, it depends how tired and everything I feel after work. But I'll definitely stream Monday, but I'll have to do it in the afternoon or early evening, because I can't do it in the evening Monday. But if I remember, on Monday I'll announce on the community tab what time I'm doing a stream. But at the moment I don't know. But yeah, thank you for watching everybody, see ya.